Meet Bartholomew Bart Blockhead, a man who could challenge a spoon for intellectual depth. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed, more like a slightly dull spork, decent enough for stirring cereal, but not much else. Today, Bart's on a noble quest to return a library book that's been overdue for a dozen years. Bart's morning starts with a dust cloud trailing behind him as he trudges towards the library. Can't say for sure if the cloud is a result of the overdue book or Bart himself. Now, imagine the librarian, Miss Periwinkle, a woman whose patience is as fragile as a wilting daisy and who has probably issued more overdue notices than she can count. Bart, in all his glory, struts up to her desk, chest puffed out, proudly presenting the book. "Yes, ma'am, here's that there book I borrowed a while back." A while back? More like when the Ottoman Empire was still a thing. The book, aptly titled The Rise and Fall of the Ottoman Empire, has cobwebs clinging to the cover like it's some sort of spider's paradise. Miss Periwinkle, her smile strained, quips, "By a while back, do you mean when the Ottoman Empire was still an empire?" Bart blinks, genuinely confused. "Empire? This ain't about fancy furniture. I thought it was a recipe book for Ottomans. Yes, you heard that right. Our dear Bart thought a historical tome was a cookbook for furniture-themed desserts." Miss Periwinkle's face contorts into an expression that screams, "I didn't sign up for this." But Bart, ever the optimist, pulls out a crumpled grocery list from his pocket. "Well, shoot! Maybe I mixed it up with the recipe for Swedish meatballs. I got the ingredients right here. Ground beef, onions, lingonberries." And as Bart drones on about his meatball recipe, Miss Periwinkle's face turns a ripe tomato red. But Bart, oblivious to the chaos he's caused, just stands there, book in hand, ready to face the music. With the book in hand, Bart prepared to face the wrath of the librarian. At the library, Miss Periwinkle, the librarian, sighed louder than a broken exhaust pipe. She looked up to see the clueless Bart Blockhead strolling in, a cloud of dust following in his wake. With a weathered smile, she asked, "Can I help you, dear?" Her voice carrying the weight of 1,000 overdue notices. Bart, in his misguided confidence, revealed his overdue book. "Yes, ma'am, here's that there book I borrowed a while back." The book in question was a dusty historical tome about the Ottoman Empire, cobwebs clinging to its cover like overzealous groupies at a rock concert. Miss Periwinkle's smile twitched as she took the book, her eyes narrowing. "A while back, huh?" she said, her patience dwindling. "By a while back, do you mean when the Ottoman Empire was still an empire?" Bart blinked, confused. "Empire? This ain't about fancy furniture. I thought it was a recipe book for Ottomans." A silence fell over the library, punctuated only by the sound of Miss Periwinkle's jaw dropping. "Sir, an Ottoman is a footstool, not a dish." Unfazed, Bart reached into his pocket, pulling out a crumpled grocery list. "Well, shoot! Maybe I mixed it up with the recipe for Swedish meatballs. Hold on, I got the ingredients right here. Ground beef, onions, lingonberries." Miss Periwinkle's face turned a shade of red that would have made a ripe tomato jealous. She was about to launch into a lecture on the importance of due dates and the value of historical knowledge when a thunderous voice echoed through the library. Mr. Fitzwilliam, the local bowling alley owner, had a bone to pick with Bart. Enter the second act of our comedy of errors. Mr. Fitzwilliam, a man with the stature of a grizzly bear and the temperament of a disgruntled honey badger, stormed into the library. "Bart Blockhead," he bellowed, his voice echoing off the walls. "My bowling trophy, where is it?" Bart, still holding his grocery list, looked as though he'd been caught with his hand in the cookie jar. "Your trophy, Mr. Fitz? About that." Mr. Fitzwilliam's eyes narrowed. "Don't tell me you've lost it, Blockhead." Bart, ever the optimist, flashed a sheepish grin. No, not lost, Mr. Fitz, just repurposed." "Repurposed?" Mr. Fitzwilliam's voice climbed an octave, causing a nearby stack of encyclopedias to tremble in fear. "How do you repurpose a trophy, Bart?" Bart shuffled his feet. "Well, you see, it made a mighty fine doorstop." "A doorstop?" Mr. Fitzwilliam's face turned the shade of a beet as he clutched his heart. "That trophy was the pinnacle of my amateur bowling career." Bart blinked, nonplussed. "Well, it did a great job keeping my front door open, Mr. Fitz." Meanwhile, Miss Periwinkle, who had been rubbing her temples as if trying to ward off a migraine, let out a sigh that could have deflated a hot air balloon. "Bart," she said, her voice weary, "I think it's time you learned the difference between borrowing and stealing." Bart scratched his head. "But I didn't steal nothing, Miss Periwinkle. I just, borrowed it for a bit longer than I should have." As the library doors closed behind him, Bart was left with a new mission. He had to find Mr. Fitzwilliam's trophy, return it, and perhaps, just maybe, learn a thing or two about responsible borrowing. But first, he had to figure out what to use as a doorstop. Bart, with his unique logic, considered the day's events. His mental gears, though rusty, were grinding away with as much efficiency as a dull spork in a world of steak knives. He mulled over his encounter with Miss Periwinkle, her face turning the color of a ripe tomato still etched in his mind. "Maybe I should have returned that book sooner," he mused, his brows knitting together in a rare moment of self-awareness. But then again, they say better late than never, right? Then there was the matter of the bowling trophy, or doorstop, according to Bart's home decor sensibilities. The memory of Mr. Fitzwilliam's dramatic heart-clutching brought a chuckle to his lips. Maybe I ought to return that too, he thought, the gears in his brain creaking a little louder now, but only after I find something else to prop open that dang door. As he pondered these profound thoughts, Bart made a vague resolution to improve his borrowing habits. "Yeah, I'll start returning stuff on time, or at least less late," he determined, giving himself a mental pat on the back. "And maybe I'll even read those books before I return them, who knows? I might learn a thing or two." But just as quickly as these revelations had come, they were replaced by a more pressing concern. His mind, as unpredictable as a cat on catnip, had moved on to the next mystery. "Now, where in tarnation did I put that recipe for Swedish meatball ottomans?" he wondered aloud, his thoughts already filling with images of meatballs atop a footstool. And so, Bart, ever the blockhead, ambled on, his intentions as clear as mud and his plans as solid as jello. As he wandered off, he left behind more than just confusion. There was also the lingering question, where did he put that recipe for Swedish meatball ottomans?